Hello and welcome to this week's Pals Pulls. This is the Comics Pals show where we review comics. Just a few pals reviewing comics together. We're doing this on Wednesday because Black Adam releases tomorrow, so we wanted to make sure we could do this and go see the movie. If you're listening to this anywhere but live, it doesn't affect you. But we've got Kale,
What's up, hot dog?
Tyler.
Can we just do like one comic so I can finish playing Marvel Snap? Do we have to talk about all of them, or
I think we do, yeah. And I'm Sean, excited to
okay.
talk about comics this week. No Marco again.
Hmm.
This is now
Hmm.
the third. Oh,
I have a slide specifically for that during Comics Tag that I made a little
Oh,
Photoshop of,
tremendous.
but it's fine.
yeah, it's rough. It's rough,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's a thing.
we're holding down the fort. We've got 4 books on tap today. We've got GCPD, The Blue Wall, #1. Batman, One Bad Day, Penguin, #1. The
A regular
Penguin.
John Ridley fest this week.
Yes. Flash 787, which is the listener pick this week. And Miracleman, The Silver Age, #1.
I never thought I'd picture Sean Bartley holding a Miracle Man comic book in the year 2022.
I really wish I wasn't.
Wow.
Okay,
Getting there, huh? Okay. Wow.
well, we'll get there.
Before we do get there, as it were, I do want to let you guys know how you can find the show and support us all over the internet. Of course, we're the Comics Pals. You type that into Google machine, you will get us. Whether it's social media, whether it's our website, youtube.com/the Comics Pals. We are all over the place. Twitch.tv/the Comics Pals to watch this show live. That is 6 p.m. Thursdays Eastern every single week. Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for the main show. This week we're actually going to have a guest. We're going to be having a Wave Blue World's Tyler Chin Tanner. He's the, I guess, CEO, publisher over there.
Sean, are we all five of us gonna be here? Are we?
No.
Okay, good. I don't have to make another overlay. That's all I needed to know. It's more behind the scenes stuff, but I figured I'd ask now before I forgot.
All right.
Little peek behind the kimono there.
Yeah.
Have we? I mean, have you never had to do a 5-person layout? I mean,
every time we've had the potential for a 5-person layout, one of us is gone. So no, I haven't.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, you will soon. Patreon.com/the Comics Pals, where for as little as $3 a month, you can support your boys and you get some pretty cool stuff out of the deal. We've got a newsletter that we shoot out every single week. We've got a show, an exclusive show called Palling Around, where a few pals just hang out and talk shit, pretty much. And
Or pointlessly argue.
that too, which I realized that, like, in reflection, my boy Marco was off the rails because he was talking about, yeah.
He was saying, literally, okay, y'all got to sign up for the Patreon and y'all have to back us up because he was saying exactly what we were saying.
Thank you, dude. I feel if you think that, then I feel vindicated because I was like,
Sean,
was I being a douche? Like I
Sean, also,
I thought I made a non-controversial statement, but
no, you guys were saying the same shit.
right.
Except Marco took it an extra 30 minutes. And
Yeah, like I eventually I stopped listening, but I stopped listening long enough that I had to come back around. And it was like, what are you saying?
For context, we talked about music on this week's edition of Palling Around. So if you want to hear the totality of that conversation and the argument that was a non-argument, you can head on over to Patreon and give that a listen. So let's jump into the reviews. We'll start with GCPD, The Blue Wall. It's really a DC week this week.
Just how I like it.
Oh, yeah.
it was gonna be a full DC week, and then I was like, "Can we do Miracle Man, please?"
And that was the right decision.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad.
What was the book we were going to read instead? Oh,
Another
Rogues.
Batman book, really?
No, it was Rogues.
I know with Batman, I kiboshed Batman last week. That's what it was.
Jesus. So this is by John Ridley, the aforementioned John Ridley. Stefano Raphael on art. New to me. I don't think I've seen this person's art before. Brad Anderson on colors, definitely not new to me. And then yeah, that's the team. So where's the letterer? This is weird. Letterer not credited.
Ariana Maher.
Okay.
Maher. She's on the inside. They are on the inside.
Okay. Yeah, because
Definitely,
on
definitely
the
give them
cover.
credit because there's a lot of letters in this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um so this is a book that I didn't know what to expect from, I guess. Like
Mm.
I knew that the story would be about the GCPD, obviously, but I didn't know how it would play out. John Ridley, I think, is talented, but I do think, at least from the stuff that I have read, which admittedly hasn't been everything, I have fallen off of John Ridley's work. When I started to read Ridley, I thought, okay, here's a guy who clearly knows how to write, clearly can write, is
Mm.
talented, a
Mm.
successful in other avenues, but I felt like there was still some learning for how to write comics. Sometimes a little too wordy, for me, overwrought, just not really hitting the way that comics need to hit. This book, though, I think is more Ridley Speed in the sense that it's a book that features more grounded stuff, very, very street level, so street level that, there's no Batman. Um, it really reminded me of The Wire in terms of the way that it looks at police work and cops from a gray point of view. It's not all cops are bad, but it's also not, hey, cops are the best people on earth and screw you if you disagree. And I think that
Mm.
Ridley expertly uses the discourse around policing over the last, I mean, realistically, like over the last 40 years, but
Mm.
more pointedly over the last 10 years to tell what I thought was a really, really good story. I loved this. This was my pick of the week.
I don't feel like it went quite far enough for me, at least at this point.
Mm.
Um, I the thing I kept coming back to with it was like, so we follow this young police officer who gets herself in uh, an incident where she might have to shoot a young black man,
Mm.
and she doesn't, and she is hailed as like a hero, by the media, and the department wants to, put her out there as a cop who did the right thing or whatever. And I think, like I like that part of it, but I think what bothers me about it is that it doesn't go all the way in saying why they want to make her a hero. Like, it's just there for you to know, like, yeah, she's a hero because she didn't kill this kid. But to me, there's nothing on the opposite ground, you know?
When you say opposite ground, what do you mean?
Like, there was no there was no real uh example, I guess, of someone who had killed a kid, or no, because this is Gotham, right? Like, in theory, this stuff doesn't happen here.
Why not?
I mean, I would assume because Batman's there. I just, to me, it's not what I would assume, I guess.
Hmm.
That, as far as like the GCPD goes, anyway. Um, but there was nothing to counterbalance her good guyness, and what they were trying to celebrate.
Yeah, I think the book relies on you having context for the conversation around policing in the United States. And I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that if you don't, then for whatever reason, if you don't, then yeah, I think there will be lost stuff. But I think you kind of do have to just say, well, they're playing off of the reality of this stuff.
Mm,
Um, and for me, what made that interesting was, you said they don't give you a reason why they wanted to make her a hero. I think what made that interesting is that, well, they do because they need a counterbalance. They need a way to hoist someone up as, hey, this person breaks the what the public perceives to be the norm of what police do. And that's something that they do talk about in the book, where it's like,
mhm.
there's a bad narrative around police. When Montoya is giving that speech, um, she talks about that to the cadets, and it's so inspiring to them for her to say, "Hey, people think we suck. It's our job to not suck, despite the public perception." And I love the way this book takes us through Renee's journey of saying this stuff, meaning it, but knowing that it's not. It doesn't matter because
Mm,
there are bad cops. And I think the book does show us that in subtle ways. Here's a great example. What I thought was a tremendous moment. After Renee Montoya gives her speech, she's being thanked and congratulated. Everybody around her looks like a demon. I'll show the page.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Those are all bad people. I'm assuming they're badged up, so they're cops. They're all bad. I think we can make assumptions about them and project all of our negative feelings on police onto that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
I
I guess I didn't
okay.
see that. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
For me, this should have been renamed GCPD, the Blue Wall of Text. Um, I quite literally fell asleep.
Hmm.
I headbutted my iPad. I fell asleep on top of it, and the jolt of me hitting the cold glass of my iPad is what woke me up. Um, I thought this is all talking heads with literally two, maybe three pages of actual action. Um, and because of that, I thought it was boring. I thought
Wow.
Renee was fine, fine. I like Renee. I've always liked Renee as the question. I like when her queerness
Yeah.
is an actual part of her character, um, which is not even touched in this.
That's not
Um,
true. It definitely is.
where if it was, it's probably the part where I fell asleep. Um,
She when she's speaking to Parker, or Park rather, she says to her, I always hoped something to the effect of, I always hoped that, or thought that, what I did as a police officer or the other things that I've done in my life that are different would inspire people or bring them hope. Something to that effect. It's a direct reference to her queerness. Also, I would say
that
that
seems very
Park,
indirect.
Yeah.
say whatever you want. I think that that's what that was. What do we know her for?
I know, but you're thinking it. You know what I mean? Like that. It's not stated. Like
Okay, I mean, fine.
the
Um,
thing that I'm also known for, with no context to what's going on. If anyone else is reading this who's never read Renee Montoya before, they'd have no idea.
all right, it's issue one.
Um, which I'm hoping. Like, yeah, it's issue one. Maybe they can get to it. I don't know. I found this to be unenjoyable.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
and
Full on unenjoyable.
yeah, no, I was like, no, I'm good.
Wow.
This, yeah.
That's weird.
Um, it is
That's
funny.
so weird.
It's funny. Like, I've tried a lot of John Ridley. I can't get into it. I can't do it. Like, I appreciate the POV he has. He has a very specific POV that's very that follows him and through his work, especially at DC. With this and I Am Batman, that's what it's called now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but like, it's just not what I'm interested in reading. Like if I don't know, maybe if you're gonna tell this story, uh, Gotham just seems like this almost so fake it's unbelievable kind of city. You know what I mean? Like it reminds me of like the what city? You ever watch Seven, Sean or Cal?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
What's do they ever say what city that is that they're in?
I don't know, but who
Yeah, it's
cares?
like this city that is just the worst city in America. You know, or like I don't know. Maybe if you're gonna tackle this, tackle it from like a real everyday, an actual city that you can talk about. I don't know. I just found it boring.
Keep political commentary out of my superhero books.
Well, no, there's no
It
superhero in this book.
It's a
it
GCPD comic. You're complaining because it's in Gotham.
Yeah, because in my head, like Gotham's shit. Everyone is shit there. It's so shitty that none of it feels real. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how I feel.
to me this felt like a I'm not going to say that this is boring because I did enjoy it, but compared to Gotham Central, this felt like a boring Gotham Central.
Maybe that's what it is. I'm a huge Gotham Central guy too. Like I love Renee and that, Crispus Allen and that. Like they were characters in this.
It it
Where
felt it felt weird that they didn't mention Batman. Like they mentioned the Joker
Two-Face shows up too. Yeah. Well,
and
an image of
Two-Face shows up, but I don't know. That felt weird.
Uh, let's talk about the art. Um,
That's good. That I got out of it. That was like, all right, I enjoy this. Although this Fournier's cover that I have on screen, I don't know if you see it, Sean. Oof.
yeah,
It's
Did you see
very
that in the
good.
shop?
they didn't have that. I didn't see that one.
Damn.
Maybe they had it and I didn't catch it, but um, yeah, I thought the art was really, really strong. I really enjoyed I felt like the characters felt like they looked. I don't know how to describe it. Like I felt like I was watching television. I just thought like, go ahead, Kill.
Was it like the close-ups? Like
Yeah.
in that Renee Park
Yep.
conversation, they do a close-up that I didn't like, but I
Hmm.
think almost they do it once or twice, but almost everything else I liked and I thought really worked.
That's a good point because there are a lot of those close-up shots. Like if I just scrolled through the pages on Comixology, like literally just scroll through them real quick. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's all heads. Here's a head. Here's a face. Here's a closer face. Here's another head. Like this feels like a TV, like a made-for-TV sort of situation going on, which would kind of track with what Ridley has done. This guy's written for film previous to this. But like I can't fault the art for that. That's a writing problem. That's if the script says two people at a diner talking, you can't really spice that up too much.
I think that's a really unfair criticism to lob at a book, because like if the book is talky, like you don't like the talkiness, but to say that a comic has to have action in it, like that's just not a.
I'm not
realistic.
saying it has to have action in it. I'm saying it has to not just be faces.
Like the characters should be doing something.
Like Human Target. What Smallwood and Tom King can do in that is there is a lot of talking in that book. That entire book is people being interrogated by the Human Target. It's talking, but there is stuff still happening. This is sedentary. There is no movement.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't know. I could have watched a masterclass, and the person doing the masterclass would have had more movement than this comic. I don't know. This is like if I want like especially I think I read this right after I read The Flash, which is like a surprisingly a wrestling comic book. And I go into this and it was like I almost made a really really messed up analogy to what happened in AEW last night, but it's knocked me out. I'll just say that.
All right, yeah, fair enough. This is my book of the week. I say pull. I think it was awesome. I can't wait to see where this story goes.
I'm interested. I I I say pull. It has a weakness. It has some weaknesses, but I still say pull. I did enjoy it.
I'm being harsh, which I recognize, but also like I would not pull this. But if somebody says, "Hey, by the end of the how many issues this is, whatever, it turned out to be very good as a whole," then maybe it could work as a trade.
Am I crazy? Is it only one of two?
One of two. What?
That I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't see that in the on the cover or anything. I'm not sure.
Where did I get that? Okay. All right. God, I hope not. Because that I was also sitting here going, what are they gonna do in 2 issues?
I hope that's not the case. That's not nearly enough time. Um, so let's talk about Batman One Bad Day, Penguin #1. So this is another John Ridley book, with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli, layouts, I should say, by Camuncoli, finishes by Cam Smith, Rob Lay on the letters. Um, so this is the third One Bad Day book that we've gotten so far. We've had the Riddler one, the Two Face one, and now we're up to Penguin. And this is a rise to power story, pretty much. Penguin is usurped by, I interpreted it as one of his old loyal people, the dude who held his umbrella.
Yeah.
And he gets betrayed, but no one cares to help him or tell him that this is coming because no one likes the Penguin. Not because, and I like that the book does this, not because Penguin is necessarily like intimidating or because he's ugly or because he's impenetrable, just because he doesn't treat people well. He's just a bad dude towards other people on an emotional level. And um it ties that into his own feelings about being bullied as a kid and how that changed him as a person. And it adds interesting depth and layers to the Penguin. Like, I could have assumed that all that was true, that he was bullied as a kid and stuff like that. And I'm sure they've addressed it at different points.
Yeah.
But the way it was presented here, the way it ties into Penguin trying to build back his empire and the kinds of people that he recruits to do that, I thought this told a really, really effective story. I loved this.
Enjoyed this. I think this was a very strong Penguin story.
Yeah.
My problem with this is that I don't see it hitting the premise.
Agreed.
Yes.
And that's something that I wanted to talk about too. Yeah.
This is, if correct me if I'm wrong, this is the second book like this this is only the third one.
This is the third issue.
I was gonna say this is the second book that does this and kind of goes against the idea. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is like actually a pretty good day for the Penguin. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I think like Ridley must have read like, oh, he had one bad day already. Cool. I'll tell what happens afterwards. I'm like, no. I want to know
Yeah,
what led
like,
to it. Yeah.
Well, I haven't read the Riddler one, but the Two-Face one
Still?
breaks that convention. I know, right? The Two-Face one breaks that convention as well. I think where DC got tripped up, it's not so much the writers misunderstanding the premise. I think it's DC giving us the wrong premise. I think from a marketing standpoint, DC is saying this is the one bad day, just like the Joker had one bad day. This is us showing you that one bad day. But I think what writers were told was go and write a great story for this character that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Killing Joke. That's I think the discrepancy.
You could be right. Obviously we have no proof either way. However, you got to read the Riddler one. Like, that being the first one sets the tone for these.
Do we know what the last one is?
We do, but I personally don't. Like, no, I
Was
don't
it
know
the
right now.
McKelvey Catwoman one or something like that? Or
Not sure.
okay.
Yeah, I still got to read that one. I wish though that they would have, especially because DC knows what they got. You know, I'm sure they knew what they got from at least the writers on pitch before they ever solicited or told us that this was happening. So once you know what the writers are giving you, why don't you just kind of tell
Fix
us
it.
about it in a different way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, I do think this is a quality uh, Penguin story. I am a Penguin, but only to the degree that, like, you know, I think he's cool in the movies and the animated series, right?
Sean,
Like,
sorry, your audio cut out right after you said penguin, so it said I am the penguin, and then you just kept going.
And it was
I'm a
funny. It made like a distortion noise, so you went wah
Yeah.
wah.
imagine. Uh, yeah. So I'm a person who would like to see more good Riddler stories, or gosh, Penguin stories. I would like to
Yes
see
to
more
both of
good
those.
Penguin
Yeah.
stories, but they don't
That's
come around that much.
I'd like to see good
So,
Riddler stories.
well, we just did the Tom King. I think Riddler is a character who has benefited a lot more from quality writing than the Penguin, at least in my
I'll give you that one.
experience.
I want
Yeah, I'll
Jim
give you that
Carrey to
one.
write a Riddler story.
Sorry, Tyler.
I want some Carrey Riddler to come back. That's what I
Oh,
want.
tell me about it.
Dude, I just watched the number 23 the other day, which is one of
That
my
horror movie with
favorites.
Jim Carrey?
Mhm.
Yes, and it was directed by Joel Schumacher, which I did not know.
Is it really?
What?
Oh, I might
Yes.
need to watch this now.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
gonna be a must watch.
you've
No,
never
I
seen the
haven't.
number 23?
No.
No.
Oh, dude.
I like schlocky
Please.
horror. I don't like I didn't know what that was, to be honest.
First of all, it's fair to call it a psychological thriller than a
That's what I
horror
figured it
movie.
was, yeah.
Yeah, because there's not really any like particular horror elements. There's a lot of sex, which seems random, but it's Joel Schumacher. It's very stylish, surprisingly so. Once because I've seen this movie many times, but once I
23 times
noticed
yet?
that it was sorry,
You see it 23 times yet?
no, oh God, I can't because then something bad could happen.
Oh, I guess
Um,
that's what the movie's about.
sorry, random tangent. Let me go to the highlighted message. Topical to Palace Pulse. I actually picked up King Spawn #1 from volume 1 from the library and could not get through issue 2. How you guys covered it for months. I'm impressed.
Kingspawn was the one we liked. Or the one I liked.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. King Spawn was, in my opinion, was the best one.
It's vindication for me.
We gotta
King
bring
Spawn
that
looked
back.
good, looked good. That was
We've been hurting for views. We're gonna have to bring Spawn back.
Our numbers were a lot better on this show when we reviewed Spawn. That's all I'll say.
where was our mental state though? So give and
I
take.
was enjoying it.
Yeah, I was having a great time.
Man, that forced my life to go. My life has gone downhill since we talked about Spawn.
I was gonna say you might give it another try.
Let's talk about Penguin.
Yeah, do you mind if I
Go ahead.
put my 2 cents here, throw my feather in this cap of this discussion? I love Giuseppe Camicoli. I'm a big Camicoli fan. The stuff he's doing with Snyder in Undiscovered Country is very good. It's a little wacky, but it's inventive and it's fun. I loved what he did with Superior Spider-Man. This is fine. This is kind of fine across the board for me. This is one of those things where nothing to write home about. You know, I'm not writing a nice strongly worded letter to my parents back home in cursive on a nice piece of parchment and mailing that to them, telling them how much I love John Ridley writing about the Penguin, doing traditional Penguin stuff. I thought my favorite part about this was the fact that the person that took down the Penguin was the guy who just held his umbrella the whole time. Like the guy that, you know, he was kind of stewing and waiting for his moment to strike. But like we never get that story. We only get the fallout from that. and it's years
Like,
later.
that would be a bad day.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a good story too. You know, um, this just feels like a sequel to a better story.
It I like that sort of the theme was that idea of like I don't know. It's like, yeah, that idea that like a good businessman can trade up or something. You
Mhm.
know, he starts with a gun with one bullet or whatever, or three bullets,
Starts with $20.
starts with $20, and then he gets a gun with one bullet. That's right. And then he figures out how to get a gun with three bullets, and then he gets a henchman, and
And then
then
he
he
gives
gets two
$5 to a
henchmen.
really tall woman who just takes the money and leaves. Psh, I know that.
She, uh, but and that was a really effective tool, I thought. Um,
It,
but yeah, that's
is it like one of those like Facebook videos you see like, oh, I sold up my $20 into a car. You know, like I just kept
yeah,
trading and
yeah,
trading. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. And it sort of makes sense for the penguin, I think, like to a certain degree.
Yeah. I like the idea that Penguin is a good, like he's a genuinely a good businessman. I kind of like
Yeah,
the idea of,
yeah,
especially certain villains, and I think Batman villains are prime among them, where like if they didn't have whatever trauma it is that they have that makes them bad, they'd actually be really good at something.
mm,
Like the Riddler would be phenomenal at solving crime, which is one of the only things that the Gotham television show did differently that I thought was compelling. Um, Penguin be a great businessman. Harvey was a great lawyer. I like that, and I think again, Ridley does tap into that aspect of Penguin's character here too that I
The,
like.
you're right. The Penguin is a good businessman. You know what? We need something like that. Someone like that in office. You know, I think the Penguin should run for like president or something. That's how the country should be run.
that's happened in Gotham. I'm sure he's run for mayor or something.
Oh,
That is the
oh.
premise of Batman Returns.
Okay, yeah. So I was right.
Oh yeah, yeah. Then I was right. Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, I like that. That's where his dad's Pee Wee Herman. Okay, yep.
Towards the end, when the Penguin and the Umbrella Man are fighting, and we see Penguin just rage out, that was
That was
that was
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
You got a thought stuck there, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say this reminds me of like a Batman the Animated Series episode,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
I feel like I said that last week too about something.
There was a reference.
Yeah. Uh,
But yeah, this really I really felt it again. Like this feels like one of those offbeat ones where Batman's just kind of, in the wings or whatever. You feel him.
the wings.
Yeah. Um, I say pull this. So I'm 1 for 1 on these One Bad Day books. I got to read Riddler. Uh, Proof of concept. Maybe the Riddler achieved that. So far, I don't think the other ones have. I
It
think
does. Yeah.
if you could have had, I think if you could have had 5 more pages, then this story would have addressed Tyler's concern about not seeing the betrayal. I kind of think that the book is better if you do see it in a more fleshed out fashion. Like if the first 5 pages were a prologue that showed you Umbrella Man taking Penguin out of the equation. Because that's, as far as I'm aware, that's not something that actually happens anywhere. That's just something that's here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also, if you need a prologue for your one shot, you don't really understand the one shot too well.
I don't think you need
Yeah.
it. I loved it,
Agreed.
but I'm
Yeah.
saying to address your concern, sure.
Kind of like the idea of the penguin just going around being nice to people though.
Yeah, I think that showing the Penguin in a way that's not the way we always see him
Yeah.
is better for this type of thing than just showing what we always see. The Two-Face story we railed against because Two-Face sucks. This one, I think, was better because it showed us more of the Penguin than we normally
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Pull for the story. Don't pull for the concept.
Oh, before we get out of this segment, because I'll never have the opportunity to do this again. This book had legitimately one of the most horrifying images I think I've ever seen in a comic. Let me see if I can find it real fast. It's whenever the Penguin is trying to, or rather, when the Umbrella Man is speaking to the guy who gives the Penguin the money. The guy who,
The blonde guy, Johan.
yeah, I think it's during that conversation. There's a shot of that guy's and his teeth are
Sorry?
so hard. His teeth?
Okay.
His teeth are horrifying. And
Again, your audio cut out at the weirdest time again.
Yeah, I did.
what did it sound like I said?
It said, and this guy was showing his blank.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that? It's really, really small. Right there, I'm pointing to it on camera. It's a small panel of this guy, and
Nope.
his teeth are just horrifying.
Nope. Kevin
Can't
Coley
see it at all?
No, not really.
Not really.
Right.
Kevin Coley's
I think
good
he's-
at that, though.
I think he's British, if that helps.
Oh, boy. Well, you live there. You're allowed to say that, right?
I mean, listen, that's not even a stereotype.
Wow.
Socialized healthcare. No.
Listen,
move-
it ain't socialized dentistry.
Let's move on to Flash. So this is the listener pick this week. This is Flash 787.
Oh,
Boy,
yeah.
that's a big number. Jeremy Adams on the pen here writing. Fernando Passarin on pencils. Matt Ryan doing the inks. Jeremy Cox on colors. This is it feels like a pretty self-contained done in one Flash story.
Yeah.
That, if you can't figure out by the cover, features wrestling. Last week we did Do a Powerbomb. We read that. And this week we're reviewing another wrestling comic. Now you want to talk about a script that is wordy. This for me was, I could not. There's just no way I'm gonna read that much dialogue. I'm sorry.
But you did GCPD?
Yeah, you know why? Because the GCP dialogue was actually interesting and had something to say. This is a random story about wrestlers and a tremendous amount of fill-in dialogue for characters we'll probably never see again. Tons of expository dialogue for a story that's not going to matter. Announcers who are talking way too much. There's just too much. Way too much. It's
But you
supposed to
know
be
what?
fun.
I had a blast.
Here,
I fucking love this.
Sean, can I? When you say
Go ahead.
doesn't matter, what do you mean by that?
So we get a whole backstory for this intergalactic wrestling organization and all the drama with them and stuff like that. And this is, from what I can tell, again, I don't know this to be a fact, but from what I can tell, this is a one and done story. So we won't see these characters again. So the whole middle of the book is just explaining what these characters are about, but this is it. We're not going to see them again. So why do I need all this? I would have had a lot more fun if it's just like this crazy thing that happens and the Flash has to solve it, and him and his tag team partner have a blast doing that with as little expository dialogue as possible, because it didn't make me connect to the story anymore.
Fair.
I'm not here for that. I'm here for the Flash.
For me,
Yeah,
it was,
I probably. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, Cal, because you're probably more of a Flash guy than the two of us.
This felt like old DC
Yeah.
to me. This felt
Yeah.
like Jeff Johns Flash to me.
I was thinking
man,
like Mark
if-
Wade's in my head.
Yeah, Mark Wade too. Yeah, that era, like not stuff that doesn't matter, because like Wally's very clearly going through something, and I don't know if it was just that, in that opening page when he, his kids wake him up and he goes to get him breakfast and put the TV on for him and he falls asleep on the couch. I don't know if it was just that I related to that, when the Flash went, I'm just tired, man.
I
I don't
love
know
that.
if I don't know if I saw that maybe in myself a little bit and I went, listen, maybe I'm a Wally West fan.
To add context, the solicitation does say that this is post Dark Crisis.
Sure.
So this is like him reeling from the effects of that. You couldn't tell from this though.
Listen,
Yeah.
he's the fucking Flash. I bet he's tired.
Yeah.
Like,
If he doesn't eat a whole 3 pizzas after, doing anything, he's going to be tired.
yeah, yeah. And, he had sort of, this sort of background thing going on that was very relatable. And then all of a sudden he's wrestling with a purple guy. I probably didn't pay as much attention to those bits of the dialogue. But, like Sean said, like, yeah, I don't really need to. I thought it was clever that they sort of introduced the idea that the Guardians chase the Wrestling Federation. I thought that was funny,
Yeah.
and like that book I would read. That one shot I would read. I don't know if I'd read a whole book, but I had a great time. I thought this was real fun. I'm gonna get into Jeremy Adams Flash, I think.
So I would say I'm probably like 80% in Kale's side here. I thought it was fun. I thought like when you say like it doesn't matter, like will we ever see these guys? Probably not. Maybe down the line. Maybe they don't even know if we're gonna see them again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I kind of like how like old comics this felt. Like I don't have to know anything else. I don't have to keep reading. I can if I want. Like this is perfect comics for like if somebody was in the shop and they picked up this book off the shelf because it's the Flash in a wrestling ring, which never actually happens in the book. Can they get all they want out of it? Yeah, they can. And that's what I liked about it. It was just like old school comics for me.
Oh, even got the Flash looking at the reader,
Yep.
reaching out to him. That's Silver Age Flash is what that is, man.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
This was my pick of the week.
No, I mean the Discord seemed really hot on this Flash run. They've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my only knock would be like the art is fine. It's not trying to do anything revolutionary. Like especially we read Do a Powerbomb last week. Like I know what wrestling and comics can look like, and that juxtaposed with this is fine. Even the moves they choose to pick in this, they aren't. It's clotheslines and power bombs and drop kicks. It's nothing fancy. There's no, burning hammers in this book. But that's probably my only knock on it. But I was generally pretty positive to it.
Yeah, Passerin, Fernando Passerin, did some of Detective Comics. Pretty sure that was when Gordon was Batman.
Really? Okay.
So that was a while ago now, and some Green Lantern stuff too. And I was reading both of those at the time, and I remember reviewing those books for another website and feeling like the page layouts were very generic. That was my criticism at the time. That there was just kind of no dynamicism to the layouts, to the shots that were chosen. It just didn't add, there's never any like flair. And I think I still feel that way. I think that it looks fine. There's nothing bad at all about it. But I think from a visual standpoint, it's just not that exciting. For a character like the Flash, when I think of him, I obviously, you think of constant movement, which he gets hit constantly in this book. That was making me really mad. But
it's kayfabe, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just very like basic panel decisions, and that was kind of a bummer.
I did like the one clothesline. It was called the Cold Shoulder, and it was like a frozen clothesline. I was like, oh, okay, that's
cute.
That'll slow the Flash down, I guess.
Yeah. I would say pass. It's inconsequential, and you have to like a certain style of comics to enjoy this. I happen to not enjoy that style of comics.
Um, I say pull.
What style of comics do you mean?
I think it's a throwback. I think it's a throwback to, like you mentioned, a Silver Age style of book where it's one and done. It's the titular character in a wild adventure, that has a ton of words that you don't have to read, but the art's not strong enough to carry that. So, like,
Mm.
if you were deciding, hey, I'm just gonna not read that because it's too much dialogue, you're not gonna be overly blown away by the art.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so that's really all I mean by that.
Yeah,
Not for me.
That's fair.
yeah, I love this pick of the week.
Let's get on to Miracle Man number 1.
Oh
So
yeah.
the Silver Age number 1. This is oh, it's book 5. Well, it says issue 1. It says
Yeah,
issue 1 on the cover, but then when you open it, it says book 5. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Um
it's a thing. It also says issue 1 on the cover, and this book also has the Marvel Legacy numbering, so it's Legacy
yeah.
number 23.
So good fucking luck.
that is where my confusion begins, but it's certainly not where it ended. This was
Really?
written by Neil Gaiman with art by Mark Buckingham, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Todd Klein. Um,
Does
I'm gonna let
Jordy
someone
Belair
else.
on colors?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let someone else talk about this.
So
Wild.
I have nothing good to say.
yeah, Kale. So this was remade. I believe they had this was the going to
That's
be the
right.
next
Yeah.
issue of Miracle Man that never came out. Buckingham had pages for it that weren't colored or anything. Gaiman, the script was already done. Buckingham then, when this was announced, decided, "Hey, I'm redoing everything I did." He redrew everything. They didn't rewrite the book because there's literally a nod to the Twin Towers. This is like pre 9/11
Yeah.
though, so
A
Yeah. It
couple, yeah.
was
um,
wild.
so I was like, maybe you could have backtracked on that one, maybe. But yeah, there was a continuation, and so um, f- uh, full transparency, I've never read Miracle Man.
I've read
I've
bits in when I was doing my comics degree, like not a ton. I
I've
read, I
yeah,
think, one or two of these pivotal issues they mention here,
sure.
but yeah, nothing
I
solid.
I I've probably read more articles about Miracle Man than I've read Miracle Man. Um,
Yeah,
but honestly, I feel like there was enough here to like get me situated. Like I think the whole premise of this book being is it young Miracle Man, Miracle Man Junior? I forget exactly what it is.
I think
Um,
this one is, yeah, young Miracle Man.
yeah,
This
he,
one was Yim.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
The blue one is and the other one was
Yeah. What was the other one?
Oh, you heard.
Oh boy, that's okay. All right. Um, but yeah, it's. I like that the whole premise of the book is young Miracle Man is coming out of this. He's being reborn, really, and it's now he's reborn in the present day. It's 2003, I think, which was
Yeah.
the future
Yeah.
then, but is our past now, which is a little wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff going on. And it's Miracle Man kind of getting him situated. Like the world is full of heroes now. Um, how do you get this guy from the 60s, up to speed with what the modern day is? Even then, like Miracle Man, like young Miracle Man's like, I don't know what's going on. This woman's barely wearing any clothes. He's like, oh no, there's a black person I shook hands with. It's a little rough, but the part that I like, and it's what I've always been interested in Miracle Man is that it's a little darker. It can get a little darker. Um, and the part where young Miracle Man's like, all right, just give me everything. I want to know everything. Don't candy coat it for me. And then Miracle Man sits him down and tells him the shit. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I thought this was great. The Buckingham art is fantastic. It is like just like classic Buckingham. And Jordy Belair on colors. I mean, the pages I've seen of Miracleman, um, I mean, Jordy wasn't doing colors for all I know. Back when Miracleman was originally coming out,
Well, it wasn't even born.
maybe a
Yeah.
coloring book, but it is a modern coloring that harkens back to the past, and I like this a lot. Honestly, I thought it was gorgeous looking. I thought it was fun. I thought the designs were real interesting. Um, yeah, I had fun with it.
To be honest, I started having trouble in the beginning, right? Because they give you the spiel on the credits page. And I started with
I
that
didn't
and I
read
went,
that. Yeah.
I started with that and I went, woof, okay. But then they drop you into this world with these other characters that who the hell are these people?
I tackled this like I would an Astro City comic. We're like, throw me in meter res, like, and I'll try and figure it out.
And had I thought of that, yeah, that would have been that would have helped. But then I got into the kid Miracle Man stuff, where he turns, and I went, "Oh right,
Yep.
that's what I like about
I gotta
this."
read that. I gotta figure out when that is.
Yeah, that shit is messed up. So yeah, and then he has Gaiman gives young Miracle Man Dickie uh that was a weird phrase. I could have done better.
You want to try that one again?
The character's name is Dickie.
Sure.
He gives him this real genuine emotional moment that he really breaks down sobbing, and I really took a second with that because it felt childish.
Yep.
And then I went, well, yeah, the dude's like 12.
And he powers down during
so
it too, which I thought was real good.
yeah, real powerful. So that worked for me. I'm interested to see what this is and where it goes. I have issues with what this is, what this issue is. The that credits page, like I don't think we needed that because they give us the story. Like this whole issue is that story.
I can
Like
confirm that you don't need it because I didn't read it.
uh, like I don't know what a new script here would be. Like I read the credits page and then I feel like I read it all again. So what am I reading here? I would like some progression, I guess, soon.
Pass.
You didn't talk about it.
I don't want to.
No, I want to hear you talk about it. I'm curious.
All right. I mean, I really, 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 really have been exhausted by Marvel's attempts to get me to read Miracle Man. And I decided years ago that I don't care. They've done it to the point where it's like, wow, you made me not care about a character that I've never even read about before because they keep pumping it. And I felt like I was supposed to care about these characters, but I don't have any context for them whatsoever. And so I didn't care. The fact that it's like sort of that it's sort of new but sort of not also threw me off. I don't care. I don't like I've very rarely have I read a comic book that I just found myself completely not caring about anything that was happening. There were times when I thought it was a little creepy. There were times when the race elements were a little bit funky. I don't see a reason to release a comic book that was scripted a very long time ago now that has no context for now. I don't get it. It feels like a cash grab. I don't like comics like this. I think Marvel should either pay Neil Gaiman what he's owed to come back to this and do it, or don't. I don't get it.
It's weird. I feel like you say you don't like how it's like an old book that hasn't been rewritten and it's now released. I felt it felt very modern still.
Really?
I did. Yeah. Like
Okay.
like the same way I think Sandman holds up, the same way I think like early Hellblazer holds up. Um, it's wild to think that that's what 30 plus years ago, those books, but in my head it still feels modern to me.
It didn't feel dated.
Maybe
I
that's
don't
what
know
I'm
that it
feeling.
felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't know that it felt modern.
maybe it's the inverse that I felt.
Yeah, because the World Trade Center references really threw
Yeah, I
me
was
back.
like, it's like, oh, you knocked down the Twin Towers. I was like, what? Come again?
Yeah.
But it was nice
Feels
to see in that world. 2003, they were still up, so I guess that's a positive. No terrorism in Miracleman's world. But I did like the creepiness of it. Like when Miracleman's like, "Oh no, I control all the decision making." I was like, "Ooh, I don't like that."
I was talking about the sexual creepiness.
I only got the one bit. There was more.
I mean,
The
all
bit
it
with
takes is one. I thought that shit was creepy.
yeah, I think, but like that's what I understand Miracleman to be. Is be a little creepy, like underneath the surface of it. It's like this veneer of golden age comics, and underneath it is like something's up, something's wrong.
and
And there
and
is
that
an
was
omnibus.
that was Alan Moore's whole deal with his book.
Yeah. It
Like
was
that's exactly what he wanted to do. So
Don't you mean the original writer? That's what that's what Marvel credits him as, I believe, in the reprints.
oh,
Wow, that's wild. All right. So that's it for our book reviews this week. And normally we would go right into Comics Tag, which is our portion of the show where one of us gets tagged to read a book and then comes back the following week to tell us what they thought about it. Unfortunately, for the third week in a row, Marco is not here, and he's the tagged one, so
wow.
we cannot do the segment.
That's the police going after him.
On the stream is a milk carton with Marco missing on it. This is for the audio listeners and for the delay for Kale and John.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the long and short of that. He'll be back presumably next week to talk about New Avengers, the first 4 issues of Brian Michael Bendis, David Finch's New Avengers run.
You
Well,
meant to say
now he's
first
gotta do
4
2 more.
volumes, right?
He should just read the first volume at this point.
Yeah,
First omnibus?
yeah,
Six or the first trade rather, first volume. Oh my god.
yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
think that's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Breakout, I think it's the whole
Yeah.
trade is called. Yeah.
It's totally not like Marco was available on our normally scheduled time of Thursdays, and I made things complicated. But it's,
I
Listen.
made him complicated. I gotta go watch Black Adam.
He gets paid for this. It's not like it's not like it's not work. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
true.
I show up.
And hey, by the way, we're punishing the guy with a good time. Like we sung the praises of New Avengers last week, so we won't get into that again, but it's really good. So
Like if I tag Sean with Alan Moore's Miracleman, and he doesn't show up for his week, I'd get it.
I'd be absent. Yeah, I would
I'd get
something
it,
would
yeah.
happen, yeah. So that leaves Pals Pulls. This is the segment where we tell you guys the books that we individually are looking forward to that are dropping next week. Before we get into that, though, leave us a comment and let us know what your pull of the week was, or what you think the listener pick should be next week. If there's a book that you want us to talk about next week, leave us a comment and let us know what that is.
So, Sean, you're continuing your delve into Action Comics with Action Comics number 1048.
Dude, I was knocked on my ass by 47.
Ouchie.
I thought it was really, really, really good. Philip Kennedy Johnson showed me that he understands Superman in pages. And I've read much longer installments from other creators where I didn't really feel like they quite had a grasp, at least for me to find my way to Superman. So I can't wait to read more of this. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to go back and read the Mongol saga.
Ooh, it's
Got
good
another
stuff.
got another scrunched up grandpa face on this
Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah,
cover
that's
those
though.
about.
covers. There's something a little wrong with them. It's a little weird. Looking like Babe Ruth.
Is it who does the really like uh idealized paintings? Norman
Norman Rockwell.
Rockwell. His old people are they're wrinkled,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
like, I mean, like really wrinkled. That's what these look like.
All right. So, Sean, you also wanted to check out previously mentioned The Riddler, Year One. This is written by Paul Dano with Steven Subic on art with a nice Bill Sienkiewicz cover on there.
You know, when this book was announced, I was like, "Oh God, really? This is what we're doing." But I actually read an interview recently with Paul Dano, and he talked about the Riddler character and what he hoped to bring to this comic, and I actually got pretty excited. He talked about exploring the psychology of what would lead a person to go to the extreme that the Riddler does, and I like that as a juxtaposition of Batman Year One, where you explore what would make a person go to the extremes that Batman does. I don't know. I was gonna say I would almost prefer a Year One to a One Bad Day for some of these characters, but short of that, I'm really excited to see what Dano has to say about the film version of the Riddler, with more space and context.
Just an incel's origin.
Wow.
So I wanted to check out Exterminators #2 coming out next week. I was a big fan of the first one, so I'm ready to see where it goes, and a double pick for the next one, and a first for the show, I would say.
Oh,
Kale and
hold on.
I.
Before we're off of Exterminators, if you have the chance, go listen to the Decompress podcast, Kieran Gillen's interview with Leah Williams about
Oh,
Exterminators. It's very good.
okay, cool. But Kale and I want to check out a new Star Trek #1.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So this is by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing with Ramon Rosales on art. Ramon Rosales did I believe the Nick Spencer Ant-Man series, if that rings a bell. I believe not Kitty, Hawkeye also was in there as well.
Kate Bishop.
Man, Kate Bishop, yes, Kate Bishop's Hawkeye. I think that he did that as well. This is an interesting team. It's what Data, Dr. Crusher, and Cisco as the captain of this one.
And Cisco's back?
He's done doing his religious space stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end of Deep Space Nine, he goes off
Spoilers for
into
that.
heaven or whatever. And because the whole premise of the show is like he's put on the space station DS9, and he ends up being like the emissary of the prophets, who the Bajorans see as the gods of like the wormhole that the space station is
Sean's glazing
sitting
over.
in front of.
No,
Yeah.
I was actually fascinated. I
Oh,
love
really?
Deep
Okay.
Space Nine, but I
I didn't
never
know you were a Deep
finished
Space
it.
Nine guy.
I never I love. I probably shouldn't say that's strong. I started it and I thought it was so awesome, and I used to watch it as a kid with my uncle, but I never like finished it. So while Kale was saying he went to heaven and stuff, I was listening intently because I thought it was interesting.
It
Bro,
gets yeah.
get through it. Like legitimately, there was a point where I thought it was the worst one. Now it's probably my favorite.
Wow.
And the-
So
and-
so the fact that, like, for me, the selling point here is Cisco's back. Like, if this didn't have a team that I know is all about Star Trek, I probably wouldn't care. Like, they sold me on Cisco's back, so let's fucking go.
Nice.
This is the first book in the I guess relaunching of IDW's Star Trek series of books. They're doing a couple of new books.
Yeah.
There's a Defiant book coming out by
Oh.
Christopher Cantwell that has the craziest lineup. It's Worf, Lore, Old
Oh.
Spock, and Ensign Rowe. After she joined, she joined the Maquis, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
goes off as a mole for Starfleet to the Maquis. Yeah.
It's like ponytailed Worf, like and Cantwell. Cantwell's one of those guys I follow his stuff, so like I'm kind of excited for where these like Star Trek post the TV shows
Yeah.
from like the '90s and what those comics are doing. I'm pretty interested. And that was the only pick for Cal.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's Pals Pulls. Let us know if you're excited about what books you're excited about next week. And if there is a book you would like us to review, you can submit that anywhere there's a comment section, including our email, thecomicspals@gmail.com, which still functions, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it still works. Yeah.
Yeah. You can get us on social at the Comics Pals.
People question things.
YouTube.com/the Comics Pals. You can drop us a comment if you're watching this video there. If you're on Twitch, you can leave us a comment right now and let us know what you think we should review next week. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you tune into this show live on twitch.tv/the Comics Pals every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for the main show. Patreon.com/the Comics Pals. Support your boys for as little as $3 a month. Get some more cool content from us from over there. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. For Tyler and Kale, I'm Sean saying take care, guys.
See you next week.